5 minutes of talking about random stuff before I get into Howard Storm's story and why it's important. And he was in my dream. A dream I did not like, and I'll explain why. So, we had another diplomatic meeting today, so I'm going to talk about random stuff for 5 minutes. Anthony Blinken, surprised nobody can catch this. Haven't you guys seen Robin Hood Men in Tights? Anthony Blinken, remember Dave Chappelle's character, Hey Blinken? Well, that's pretty accurate, minus the skin color. Dave Chappelle's character in Robin Hood Men in Tights was a blind man. And it seems like Anthony Blinken is also a blind man. So the Blinkens match up very well. And I think that's superb because he said one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life today. Oh, you guys ready for it? His meeting was a joke with a Russian foreign minister. A total joke. A total joke. He said that he wants proof. He wants proof that Russia will not invade Ukraine. How can you prove that? That doesn't make any logical sense. Mr. Anthony Blinken, who is a Blinken of Robin Hood Men in Tights. That makes no sense. The blind man from that movie, Dave Chappelle. I guess only old people like me would know about that movie. I don't know. But obviously they got nowhere, so no agreement was reached. Nothing. They said they're gonna provide a written document next week. Russia wants, they're both ridiculous on both sides. Russia wants a written guarantee that Ukraine will never join NATO, which is just ridiculous. How could you get a written guarantee for something like that? That's not going to happen, okay? If that's what they want, it's just not going to happen. I don't see it. It's just absolute ridiculousness on all ends. We have one person. Okay, whoever you are, I'm randomly talking for 5 minutes before I get into the dream, so just there's 2 minutes remaining. So yeah, I'm really curious what sort of written document they're gonna provide and what it's gonna look like, because you guys hear the coyote? We have so many coyotes and raccoons here, it's crazy. It's going to look like a joke if you ask me. Whatever it looks like, the Russia's not going to accept it. I don't think. Whatever, though. It's all just games, mind games, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I might as well just start talking about the dream. Before I talk about the dream, I have to mention the person that was in my dream. His name is Howard Storm. I'm almost certain that you guys have heard about Howard Storm. He was probably, if not the most famous, one of the most famous near-death experiencers. He's been on every TV show you can imagine back in the 80s and 90s and later on too. And he has a really remarkable, incredibly detailed story. I went beyond than just, simply hearing about his story. I also got his book, which goes into much greater detail than whatever it is that he shares on, on a podcast or whatever. You're not late. I just started talking. Don't worry. I just started talking about Howard Storm and his history and who he is. Before that, I was just blabbering about Anthony Blinken being a Blinken from, hey Blinken, I mean from Robin Hood Men in Tights, the character from played by Dave Chappelle, who's the blind man. I don't think anybody's caught on to this, that the guy's last name is Blinken, and his name was Blinken, and he's a blind man, and so Anthony Blinken is also a blind man, so it actually makes sense. Anyway, somebody said something. Let me check. I've heard Howard Storm many times. I love Howard. I love him too. I talked to Howard. I exchanged several emails with him because of our incredible similarities with our hellish experiences. You know, for those of you who don't know, I had a hellish out-of-body experience about 3 years after my heavenly near-death experience. And I'm sure most of you know about it, but if you don't, I'll share a link below after this is over. It's one of my most viewed videos, though, so it's not hard to find. But there are really, really crazy similarities between his story and mine, with one huge, massive difference, in that in his NDE, he was in heaven and hell, like in the same NDE, right? Really remarkable how it all played out. I'll just give like a brief summary. He had like some kind of stomach ailment that was like extremely deadly, and he needed surgery immediately. And he couldn't get it. They couldn't find a doctor or whatever. So, and he was an atheist, just to go back to his background, total non-believer, whatever. And he ended up, dying before the surgery. Well, quote unquote dying. And he left his body. He stood up, and he didn't realize that he was dead. He said that he felt better than he ever felt in his life. And he started walking around the hospital, asking around, what the hell's going on? Where am I? Why is nobody helping me? Where's the surgeon? He started thinking that he was healed now. He was all good. And he found some people that like started guiding him, or they started directing him to some sort of direction away from the hospital. He said he felt like they were walking forever, and they kept going and going. And the more he asked like where they were going, the more hostile they got. So he ended up like in this very dark place, right? Pitch black, which is where I was too. I was in absolute pitch black darkness. A pitch black darkness where you could still clearly see. So it doesn't abide by any laws of physics or anything like that. Just because it was pitch black dark doesn't mean you couldn't see. You could see as clear as you can imagine. And he was tormented by, these really angry, aggressive souls, right? And it's funny that he doesn't like to publicly discuss the details of his torture, while I, in my video, discuss every detail you can imagine. There was a lot of really sexual sadism, a lot of really perverted, dark, twisted stuff that they were doing. And their appearance, they were zombie-like. They had like brown robes. They were filthy. They looked like they were the Walking Dead, like little zombies. And he described them the same way. And he was rescued by, he prayed to get out of there, and he was rescued by Jesus. I've had that dark. You have? You should tell me about it. Give me like a brief summary or something. I would definitely love to hear it. So he prayed, and he was rescued by, or what he thought was Jesus, I suppose, who took him up to, the heavenly realm, where his story just got really weird, and most people don't have any idea. Like, he doesn't talk about it. Like, you go to his interviews, he's been on 1 billion YouTube podcasts, right? And there's so many details that are in his book that he doesn't go into in any of those podcasts. Like, okay, like for example, so he asked Jesus like if there are alien worlds, and he's like, yeah, and he showed him like different types of aliens, and he said like there were just countless, like they just kept going and going, like from like insectoid to octopus and amphibians and blah blah blah. And it's just he doesn't really talk about that. Like he talks about like the structure of the universe and how life evolves and how species evolve and how it's super detailed. He talks about how incarnation works. Like he doesn't get into that in most of these interviews, and he especially doesn't talk about the very root details of his hellish experience, which I understand is extremely traumatic. It's, yeah, I could say it was the worst thing I've ever been through, and I've been through extreme trauma in physical life, and extreme abuse, but this was a lot worse than that. Monumentally worse. There's just no comparison. I mean, it wasn't even the physical stuff. What bothered me the most in that hellish experience was the hatred, the pure seething hatred that these souls, you could feel it from within their being in every detail. You could feel their absolute pure seething hatred towards you. And it was so real. It was so dark and twisted. It's undescribable. Like I guarantee you, nobody in your life has ever hated you as much as these people hate. There's no comparison on earth. I don't care if it's the worst sadistic serial killer that ever lived. This doesn't even compare, the pure seething hatred they had. So why I believe that there is, a hell or this place where it's like souls are kind of I don't think it's eternal. I think they're reconfigured and recycled and brought back to the source. But it definitely does exist, and it's a place. A lot of New Agers say, oh, no, it's all in your mind. Big disagreement I have. It's not all in your mind. It actually exists. It's a real thing. Anyway, I don't want to scare you guys, though. You guys are going to be fine. You're not going to go there. I was a real piece of crap at the time, and I was doing I was just partying all the time and living a super selfish lifestyle, so I kind of deserved what happened to me. I was in a different realm. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard to explain. So, getting into the dream though, with Howard Storm, why am I even talking about Howard Storm? It's because he was in my dream last night. He was in my dream, and it was concerning. I was at the airport with him, at some airport, and he was wearing this really bright green shirt, which I was really fixated on for some reason. I was just obsessively looking at his shirt because it was this lime green odd color. And he kept looking at me, he kept staring at me, and I kept asking him, like, where is he going? And he's like, I'm flying. And I'm like, well, can I come with? And he's like, no. Like, there was a straight up conversation taking place. So I start following him, like he's carrying luggage through this airport, and I start following him like some kind of puppy dog. Like, it almost looked pathetic. It was ridiculous. Like, I just started like pleading with him. I'm like, please, let me fly with you. And by the way, I've had an unusual fixation with planes lately. I get these periods of time where something sparks my interest and I would start studying it for a few weeks or months. Then I would move on to my thing right now has been airplanes. So I'm not surprised that I saw planes in my dream, or it was an airport. Especially there was this incident that happened with this guy you might have heard about. I'll tell you in a second. Was I scared? I wasn't scared. I was annoyed that he wouldn't let me go with him. I was annoyed. I was like, dude, it was like more of a feeling of frustration than being scared. And so he gets to the gate where the planes take off. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like getting kind of frantic. I'm like, hey, let me go with you. Let me fly with you. And he just kept insisting that I don't fly with him. And he goes through the gate, and I just like sadly look at him, and he goes. Dude, I woke up and I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, am I not gonna, what is the allegory here? Is he flying to heaven, right? Am I not invited anymore or something? Like, I can't, I don't know. It's just it kind of bothered me. Like, is this some kind of rapture thing? Like, what? Like, is the flight a representation of a rapture? Like, I don't know. Like, I've always been super skeptical of the idea of a rapture, but anything's possible. Hey, totally possible. I don't know. So let's see what you guys say here. Had you thought about Howard prior to the dream? No, I haven't thought about him in months. Like, I've like dissected every detail of his story for years, especially after my hellish out of body experience. Like, I got obsessed with him and people like him for a while who have had similar experiences to try to, like, discern what happened to me. And one real big thing we have in common is that we saw both sides of the extreme, right? So we saw extreme light and extreme darkness. Mine was 3 years apart. His was in one event, but it's still the same idea, right? No, I haven't thought of him. I haven't thought of him for a long time. Not that I can think of. I'm trying to think. Maybe did somebody send me a link or no? I haven't watched an interview with him in a while. Not that I could recall. Probably about a year actually. So no, I was not thinking about him at all. Howard Stern's progress. Oh, Howard Stern. Oh, that guy. Is he still around? Man, he must be old by now. Jeez. Howard Stern. He's never going to get off the radio, is he? I forgot about the polarities of dark and light. Yeah. Yeah, it's not very common. Okay, first of all, hellish experiences are not very common to begin with. I think out of reported near-death experiences, something like 1 out of every 50 are what you would consider hellish. So they're pretty rare. There must be a reason your soul brought him to the surface. There must be a reason. I can't agree with you more. I've been trying to figure that out the entire day. Maybe I'll find out eventually. It's not like I had a relationship with this guy or anything. Like, exchanging a few emails is nothing, but still, and that was many years ago too. So I don't know. Are we part of the same soul family? I don't know. But let me briefly talk about this weirdo who jumped out of a plane. So I've kind of been looking into planes lately. There's this guy named Trevor Jacob, who's like an Olympian and a pro snowboarder, and he put up this YouTube video where he flies a plane and in the middle of the air his engine goes out, and so he's like, "Oh, I always fly with a parachute." And then he just, like, instead of trying to land or do anything, he just jumps out of the plane. And, like, he got roasted after that. Like, the whole, like, YouTube community, like, is this whole big story, basically. So I got interested in how planes operate after this guy's story. It's basically, it's so staged, it's ridiculous. So he crashed this plane in the mountains here in California. And a couple of days later, he actually hired a helicopter to take the plane out of the mountains, which made it even more suspicious. And he did it on the anniversary of D.B. Cooper. You guys remember D.B. Cooper, who stole a bunch of money, like in the 70s, from a plane, and it was like the 50th year anniversary. So it was clear that it was a stunt. It's just a funny story. I just wanted to bring it up as to why I've been in the planes lately. That's what sparked my interest, basically. Yeah, Howard Storm had I think that would be an understatement. I don't know. So I'll go on a few more minutes, but my curiosity is, I want to ask you guys what you think about hell, or what is that to you? Like, does it exist? What does it mean to you? Obviously, to me, it's something real. And yes, of course, your mind does play a role. Your thought patterns, your daily thought processes, of course, they're gonna gravitate you toward what you like. This is true. I agree that you do gravitate with what you think about. But there's more to it in the sense that I think there's it's something a little bit more tangible as well, whereas opposed to a lot of like new age communities just sort of see as oh, it's all thoughts. I mean, that's a really loaded statement because the entire universe is all thoughts, but you gotta like give it like bring it a little bit more detailed than just saying it's all thoughts because thoughts create things, thoughts create forms, right? So I went to a dark place out of body and saw the abomination, but I don't think it was a Judeo. No, I didn't think mine was either. No, it didn't feel like religious at all, or in my heavenly one too. Like there's nothing that implied any sort of religion in either one experience, in either one of the experiences. I didn't see Jesus, Buddha, anybody in either one of those. So I did see, okay, so I did see some kind of thing. It was like a very, very tall, like probably 13-foot tall, just dark black mass. It just didn't have, it looked like it had arms and legs, but I couldn't tell what form it took on. It was just darker than the dark that I was already in. And so sorry, I'm gonna get into some weird stuff here, but bear with me. This thing, again, it's in that video I shared, but it picked me up and threw me on the ground and vomited on my face multiple times. And I thought that this was something totally unique. I experienced like until like several, like probably 3 years ago, I found a few other people that had that same experience in the hellish OBE, where they had some demon thing or whatever vomit on their face, whatever that's supposed to mean. Don't ask me. I don't know. I just know that it really sucked and I hated it. I listened to Aunt Nancy Evans Bush Ian's presentation on hellish experiences. She says it's a state of mind, like in a movie, What Dreams. Oh yeah, that's a good movie. The Robin Williams, right? Yeah, beings in robes. They were in robes. They were. So in the hellish experience, they were wearing like robes, but they were really filthy. Like it looked like, I mean, imagine somebody dying, being dead and being buried for like 2 weeks, and then they resurface. That's what they look like. Their faces were rotting. They had worms and snakes on their faces, like kind of like cliche zombies, but much worse. But they were very conscious. They were not like, like mentally deficient zombies that you see in the movie. They were very clear, very sharp-minded. They knew what the hell was going on, where they knew everything. They were sharp, smart, so they weren't dumb, nothing like that. I went into a dark place when an Archon was trying to hack into me. I hacked into it and was transported. Ooh. Yeah, Archon. When I hear the word Archon, immediately the first thing that comes to mind is reptilian. I don't know why. That's just like the first thought that pops into my head. Whether that's what they are, I don't know. But I think it's really likely. What was I just talking about? I just sort of lost my train of thought. Yeah, Robin Williams. Yeah, I mean, the thing of it is, though, that movie, What Dreams May Come, that would be a really crappy, I don't know how to explain it. So, like, if you can't control your thoughts and then you die, right? And everything you think about manifests, that to me sounds worse than hell. like, because people have weird, like, I have weird thoughts coming into my mind all the time, like we're really strange creatures, right? We think about the dumbest shit. It's so weird. So I think maybe there's some kind of help, or I don't know. Okay, like, well, I'll just say this. In my heavenly experience, there was not even the slightest inkling that I could have a negative thought. Everything was just so amazing and blissful, and I was with what I felt was like soul family, that it wasn't even conceivable for me to think of anything negative, except for the moment when I had to go back. Then I got a little upset, but it wasn't upset that you think of as upset. It was just like kind of like a somber type thing. All right, dark priests and entities with filth and filth and the opposite of good. Yeah. All right. Looks like we're at 26 minutes, so I might as well just go until 30 minutes, so 4 more minutes. Yeah, that was a good movie, though. That was a really good movie. I gotta watch it again because it's been many years. What Dreams May Come. And then there was another one. What was that at? Oh, man, I can't do this right now. The guy from Dirty Dancing, who died of cancer, the actor, he was in another kind of afterlife movie. I think it was called Ghost or something. That was a pretty good movie. Yeah, Ghost. That was a good movie too. Where, remember that scene in the subway station where his dead friend like tried to smoke a cigarette but he couldn't do it? Yeah, Patrick Swayze. There you go. Patrick Swayze. Yeah, he was cool. I liked him. Yeah, that's kind of sad. Like, what if there are? I mean, I've had friends, who've died of overdoses and stuff, and I kind of wonder sometimes, like, are they still trying to catch that high? I mean, it's totally possible. I would like to hope that they're healed, that that they have been healed, but you just never know, like. I thought it was good. Sent my parents to see it, and they were pissed. Said it was the most depressing movie ever. Yeah. One of my first movies, yeah. My issue is I'm not sure what you think of the Jesus character, though, Daniel. Many NDEers say that they meet him on the other side. Others don't. The whole topic is confusing, right? Which is why people like... oh my gosh, the guy who I just chatted with on my last live stream, who talks about the reincarnation soul trap stuff, had a really awesome conversation with him, even though we don't agree on anything. But it's still cool to have a good conversation, even when you see in polar opposite directions. But you need people like him. I'll remember the name of, I think it's Soul Research Channel or something. Forever Conscious Research. Yes. Sorry, that's it. So people like him are necessary, right? To kind of bridge the gap between these contradictions and near-death experiences, things like that. The only problem with him I have, though, is like, I don't think things are... See, a lot of people think I'm so negative, right? I'm talking about war all the time, and because I see war coming, that's why I'm talking about it. Okay, but anyway, I just think it's just too dark. Like his stuff is like worse than hell. Like, come on, there's got to be more hope than that, I heard you with him. His name is Mark. Yeah, Mark. He's super cool, super chill, and you know what? He's still open-minded, and I'm not going to be totally closed-minded to his ideas either. I mean, a real researcher has to be open-minded to everything, But we do find ourselves being biased because of our experiences, It's just human nature to be biased. So, but I try to keep an open mind, But I wanted to bring him up as an example because people like him bridge the gap. There's a lot of contradictions in these experiences, and hey, everyone is a unique soul. So because everyone's a unique soul, maybe that's why there are those contradictions and why they have such unique experiences. So that's not necessarily a negative thing. Again, there's supposed to be an element of mystery in life, right? We're not supposed to have all the answers, and I think that's the way it's meant to be. All right, so we've reached 30 minutes. The first time you made it to my live and I'm done.
I'm sorry. I'm about to go. Oh, that sucks. You're an actual experience though, so your insight is important. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it is very different, to talk about things and not experiencing them. Like I made that video a while back. Look, if you've never been skydiving, how are you going to describe what skydiving's like, right? If you never shot a gun, how are you going to describe that? Like, it's just, yeah, it's common sense, right? Like, I'll wait another minute for. I'm so glad you made it. All right. Well, maybe not. Yeah, I'll just go. Hey, you could rewatch this video though, okay? I'm sorry. I know you're from Australia, but I can't remember your name. I know you've been watching me for a long time though. I appreciate you coming here on the chat, even though I'm leaving. So thank you guys. I'll see you later.